You wait for that to go through before I start.
You what?
I'm gonna wait for that to go through before I start.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Good.
All right, I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:01. And I do want to make an adjustment to today's agenda. That was not posted previously, that we just wanted to add on to there. Under new business, establishing meeting policies. So I'm gonna read through this, just so you guys have an idea of what's going on. The planning board meeting rules are posted in the meeting room. This is so everyone will understand that while the planning board meetings are a public proceedings, the public has no right to participate unless the planning board allows it or the meeting is scheduled as a public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak about a topic must request to be placed on the agenda 5 working days prior to the meeting day. The chairperson will allow 15 minutes for open discussion at the end of every planning board meeting. Anyone speaking to the board will do so in a civil tone. Yelling, swearing, or belittling is not allowed. Anyone doing so will be asked to sit down as a warning. If order is not observed, that person has to leave. And if that person does not leave, law enforcement will be called to remove that person from the meeting and charges will be filed. Anyone speaking will represent themselves unless written permission is given from a person wanted to be represented by someone. All personnel issues will be conducted in executive session with the person present. All cell phones should be turned off or placed on silent. And this policy is going to be enacted at regular and duty called meetings on this day, the 7th day of November, 2024. So I would like to motion that we accept the planning board meeting rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Debate.
Yeah.
So I'm always asking the question,
Mhm.
whenever we do something, is this even necessary? Meaning, because I mean, granted, we do want to be productive in our meetings, and accomplish things, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, have things really, been in a way that we would predict long-term problematic, or, that's my question. And all personnel issues will be conducted in executive session with the president. I think that's more applicable to select board, not to us, that sentence there. So that's just on my mind, is like, I just think to myself, it'd be nice if we can keep the status quo.
Mhm.
And if there are slight aberrations, those things might happen, but, do we really think that, there's going to be some major issue that over the long term will
Right,
continue?
I would like to hope not. The biggest thing, what I'd like to do, every select board meeting has this same like code of conduct in place. And it would be nice to be able to just unify and have the same rules and boundaries set within all the boards. I am willing to go through this and adjust as needed, and we can re-vote on it. So you mentioned about the
Yeah.
executive session.
Right, I don't think that
Which-
applies to us.
You are correct, because we technically don't have, I worded it exactly as the
Selectmen
the
rules.
selectmen one, which I had a copy here. I don't remember.
And if I don't bring my laptop and I'm looking up a statute, it says all cell phones should be turned off or placed on silent. That means I'd be running afoul of our own rules.
You
if
can
I
have
look
it
something
on, yeah,
up.
no, you can have it on silent, turned off or
Oh,
on
on
silent.
silent, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it.
And my comment, the reason I'm in favor of it, we have had a few meetings where it's gotten out of hand of a citizen talking for an hour at a time. That it got way off topic. So we didn't get anything done, that we still have our business to do, but yet this also will give citizens a chance to talk, but more of a contained, get to the point. Not
And I can say in the previous meetings, we generally don't have public at our meetings. So we never thought to actually do this. So now that we seem to have more interest with people coming in, I think that we need to set rules and guidelines. Going forward.
So if we adopt an agenda and someone wants to speak to something, the meeting that I know that there was public participation, which, you know, is a rare thing, but it seems like that topic was not on our agenda, but
Mhm.
at the discretion of the chair, it opened up. So we were being benevolent in our leeway, the leeway we were granting, but I really think this, most of the time, some things don't happen. I mean, and even then, I've seen it much worse in the select board with yelling when I was younger, and I've never seen yelling thus far in the planning board. No one's yelled yet, so.
Yeah.
I understand completely what you were saying, because your meetings are usually pretty hush hush. It
Yeah.
obviously has not been that way recently, but just my opinion, it's smarter to put the horse before the cart instead of the other way around. Why play catch up? If we don't want it to get to the point where everything's hostile. I mean, nobody enjoys. I know from being behind that desk at other meetings. It's not enjoyable knowing you're going into a meeting where there's going to be people just angry as all get out. So if there's some way of letting them speak and using their voice, but still maintaining some sort of control, to me, that's a more efficient, productive way. Because I'm not sure which one of you said, you guys are here to do your business.
Mhm.
Yes, it's a public meeting, but you still have your business that you need to get done at the end of the night. And I know from
Agreed.
being on the select board, we've ended up kicking things down the road so many times because the meetings just get overrun.
Yeah.
So
I guess
it's hard. I mean,
what I'd like to do is open up the discussion with the four of us. If we need to do any rewording of this, and then we can reword it and then do it there. I do understand your point with the executive session, because we technically don't have an executive session where the select board does. I would be okay with honestly just crossing that line completely off, striking it. But again, I want input from everybody.
I take back my second on your
Okay.
motion somehow.
So make them.
So then you have to,
So just change your second to a motion to,
yeah, okay, I motion to,
striking.
I second, as long as we delete the line about the executive session.
And Brad, keep in mind there, like if people are at the meeting and want to talk to us, we'll have a public comment section. So if they want to voice a concern about something, they can.
Yeah.
And what we could do, if we wanted to, just so, I know it says in here at the end of the meeting, if we had a bunch of people here, we can always move our agenda around, so we could do public comment at the beginning. Let them do their thing, then we can go into our session and do stuff. So.
That seems like that, if we can move it, that'd be good, because I think the select board used to have it at the front. No, with the timer, you need to time it, because if you go beyond 15 minutes and someone's filibustering, then that's a problem, but, yeah.
Yeah, and what I would personally like to see the select board do is we have 5 minutes in the beginning and 10 afterwards.
That's
Yeah.
interesting, actually, yeah.
Well, I mean, because chances are that someone's gonna have a question over at least one topic that's being discussed. And instead of interrupting the meeting process during it, they can even during their 10 minutes afterwards.
Yeah. So I guess I'm gonna remove my motion at the moment completely. And I wanna,
That edit has been made and sent to you, so if you wanted to print it on this printer here, you can print it.
maybe, if it'll let me.
At that printer, what should?
Are there any other changes that we would want to make to this? And again, we can move the talking points. If we want to do it at the beginning of the meeting, we can, or at the end of the meeting, we can always I mean, there will be times we won't even need it because there won't be people here.
And we've done that with public comment, when we know somebody's here for something specific, let them go first. Instead of making them suffer.
Yeah, let's see if I can actually find the printer.
The problem is the same printer that I have at home, so it always crosses. There's driver.
It's allowing me to print to the one in the office. But not this one.
Well, you could do that.
That's
Yeah.
Xerox phaser, right?
Yeah,
Or,
this one,
or
no.
all, no, the one in there,
Work center.
because I've got one that's
Altalink.
Xerox Altalink.
Yep, that sounds great.
Are you sending it in there?
Yeah, you don't mind if I do that, do you?
No.
8145, I think what it is. Something like that.
How do we allocate, or how do we know, okay, like, if you have 15 minutes and you have 3 people that want to speak, but someone's taking up 11 minutes?
You shush them after 5.
3 or 5.
That's a
Yeah,
good
And
idea.
that's what I know the selectmen have done.
It's a crapshoot, honestly.
Yeah.
It's, you just kind of gotta gauge the room and
I mean, it's all
Yeah.
at the discretion.
You, yeah, and you really can't let, like, say, we have 20 people here. And Carol starts talking the whole 15, you've got to shush her so that
I didn't
Travis
think of
can get it.
I'm waiting in case we need
Oh, okay.
any other changes that we might want to
It
put
seems
in.
like we would need to then come up with a list to know how many people that are actually sitting here want to talk, so that maybe they have to sign a
Well,
list. if
It's,
they wanna
that
talk.
this addresses that, they need to let us know ahead of time.
Well, no, I'm saying the public comment section, meaning if we're gonna divide up the time equally, because
It
some
doesn't
people.
have to get that
No,
technical, right?
no,
I
no,
mean, honestly, it's like Brian said, you can kind of read the room,
Yeah,
you know? And
And if you get one person that rambles on for a long time, you can stop them or ask them to wait for a second. And then ask, does anybody else in the room have something they'd like to speak on tonight? And if
Oh,
not,
yeah,
then you
that's-
can let them keep going, but if there are other people, then you'll say, hey, can you wrap it up in the next minute? So that way you could let other people talk.
I know it's been very transformational for the select board from my youth, when I used to attend. It has been, no, I mean, overall, I mean, granted, because of my schedule, I'm not able to attend. I trust a
Yeah.
lot, but that things are going well, but, yeah, but I have seen a marked improvement. So in that sense, the policy seems to work.
well, it gives people an expectation of what's gonna be allowed and not allowed.
Right.
It's the biggest thing, I think. The code.
So did you resubmitted your motion? Is that correct?
I printed it and I was waiting to see if we wanted to go any further.
Okay.
So. Carol, can I have you grab one of them?
I
Thank
hadn't
you.
heard it, so yes.
I think it printed,
It printed somewhere.
pretty right? I've done that at work, like I'll be in one building and go to print to something and I realize I printed it in the other building, like up in the accounting office.
Yeah.
Just secretary, planning board get paid.
That's not on the agenda for tonight, so I'll talk
I'll
about
be
that.
happy to pay for that. $5 stipend.
wait till she does Christmas cooking. or
Does it
something.
matter that it's like this now?
Um,
Sorry, it moved the lines all around.
the printer.
Should,
Give me a second, I'll just make it look better. Or not. I think it's where it prints online at home,
there you go.
but that's what I sent, and that's how I did, actually it was. mean, that's,
You can self-sign it, I mean.
That'd be-
Why in your first name, I think helps make it very clear that it's a female name,
I might be able to do
right?
that.
If you, is that the feed, the sense you get?
Yeah. Because my dad's name was Rod. He wanted us not, yeah.
pretty formatted.
Oh, that's weird. It's fine if I put it in my word.
Yeah.
So that's,
Accounting.
I think I got it.
Yes. Send you the, just in case.
Did that fix the lines above our names? So, yep, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So I motion to accept the amended planning board meeting rules.
I second.
Okay.
I didn't-
It, so basically I just we removed the executive session line.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
And she just wanted to read it out loud.
Oh.
Oh,
All right, so there was all those in favor? Opposed? Okay,
I think we just sign. This copy we sign.
Yes.
I watched too many selectmen's meetings,
pen, okay.
If you're in
so for the
favor.
record on that.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
right?
What?
3,
If
4.
you're, only if you're in favor of it, right? No?
You know,
You sign it, yeah.
yeah, you should sign it as a board,
Right.
because the overall vote was in favor, so
Right.
you
Okay.
should sign it as a board.
Yeah.
But the
Okay,
minutes,
that's right.
the minutes can still reflect.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that will get put in the policy book as well as a.
I did also on this, it needs to be posted in the room. As well,
Yes,
Probably should, yeah.
yeah,
thank
Yeah,
you.
we
You're
can-
yeah. Once you guys sign it, I can make a copy for each of you to keep in your books and then. A copy for the office and a copy for here.
Thank you. All right,
Actually, the office will keep the original. Yeah.
We want to go back to, well, since we have select board people here, we can go back to the select board updates.
okay,
How about we do, the minutes from last week, meeting? You're getting too excited.
So what you have attached, your minutes are is the conversation that took place in the meeting room, also the question and answers, as well as the attendee list of who attended that meeting. Should be attached to that as well. So it's in the public attendance list at the top.
Thank you for doing the question and answers.
And I'll pass it down, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Happy for you.
I motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting minutes are passed. On to today. Um.
Select board updates, computers.
And I'm just. At the bottom of our meeting minutes from now on, under new business. And above motion to adjourn, can we add public comment?
It's on there.
Perfect. All right. Let's move on to selectmen updates.
Which really was the status of the cemetery. Sewer, do we have a town, do we have a town attorney yet? And what's the status of the sewer and cemetery ordinance review?
We do, go ahead.
We do have a town attorney, we're waiting for the letter of engagement to come through so we can officially start.
Are we allowed to know who it is?
Alex.
Oh, you told me,
Yeah.
Or the law.
Is it the same one that, was it Livermore or Jay that was using?
It's in the same office, but I don't know if it's the same one.
I could look it up, but what's the name of the firm?
what's in there?
Oh, okay.
Alex Pringle.
Pringle, I knew it was something on, yeah.
Yeah, Alex Pringle with Drummond and Woodson.
Yes.
Okay.
So they'll, he is on board, we're just waiting, I actually gotta check with Kathy.
Drummond and who?
Woodson,
Wood-
out of Portland,
SUM.
WOODSUM.
Okay. Cool.
Yep, we're just waiting on the engagement letters to officially. sign. Okay,
Mhm.
which if I don't have tomorrow, I'll email him and ask, cause it was last week that I talked to him again, so. Should be anytime.
So it's probably after the next meeting and know if we have any new members or not.
We have two,
Yeah.
applicants, to look at the next meeting.
To what? I missed what the question is.
Potential applicants for the.
Okay.
open seat on
Unless
the
Travis
planning
wants to join you.
board. Tried to recruit him as a bond.
Writing.
You don't have that right, you just gotta think.
I'll accept big one. Okay.
Okay.
And did you say there's people are going to be possibly picked at the next select board meeting?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
Yep, it's on the agenda,
Okay.
so I don't know where it will end, but
Keep in mind that we are reinstituting the comprehensive plan committee, which I think would be it's a great place to get your feedback about stuff that's going on all over town, if you're needy. So we do need to set that, I thought we set the comprehensive plan work date at the last meeting, but then when I went through all my meeting minutes, I could not find it.
I have on my calendar,
Where do you
I
have
think
it?
it's
'Cause
the
I looked at my
18th.
calendar with a fine tooth comb. I
Let me
could not
sign in,
find
I thought it was
it's
like Monday, the 18th.
You're correct.
I think it was.
it.
November 18th from 6, we have at 6.
I was sure we
You
did, I went through everything.
That's it.
I don't have it in my phone. So it is November 18th.
November 18th, that's
Okey dokey. I can.
Monday.
And are we on, Robin, can you check the calendar behind you and just see if we're on the wall there, because.
I'm probably the one that wrote on that. No, no,
or didn't write on it.
Okay,
it is available.
okay, I'll put it on I'll get Kathy to put it on the town page and I'll put it on.
Nice. Breaking stuff.
You can't have nice things.
Yeah, the reason why.
Okay, we're off.
Okay. All right, fine, right.
On that note, I'm looking at the calendar. Do we need to look at our meeting dates in December? Because the 19th is a question. I questioned up there.
What's the,
If it's,
Normally would be that.
yeah, too close to Christmas or not. I know I'll be out of town.
that's the week before Christmas. You're out of town that week?
Which, that's, I'm gonna go away.
You didn't want to see the song I'll Be Home for Christmas name? Just kidding. Sorry.
You might probably have snow, no.
So December, we are the 5th and the 19th, right? You're saying you don't want to do the 19th?
Well, that's my question.
I know I'll be here. I'm leaving for Texas the 24th, but I'll be here.
When
I
are you,
should be here.
when are you leaving? Do we do it on Monday the 16th instead?
I haven't made, yeah,
That would be fine with me as well.
And that would be fine. Monday the 16th.
Can you
You
do
might
that?
wanna start your spelling there, Diane.
Of course.
Denver.
Typing sucks. That's why we have corrections. Don't even look at anything that's typed.
I understand, and I didn't tear it up.
Do you have a public comment person here? Do we want to do that?
Yes.
Or do you want to go into our floodplain management ordinance and make him do that?
I'd like to move to public comment. And we don't have to sit here while we do this. So-
What is a comprehensive plan working session? What is that?
So the comprehensive plan is a 10-year strategic plan for the town. Supposed to do it every 10 years. The last one we did was 2004. And it looks at all kinds of things: housing, population, education, recreation, fiscal management of the town, roads. It looks at all those kinds of things and kind of says, here's an inventory of where we're at. And we've already held several visioning sessions where people, from the town came out and kind of said, what do we want to do? And what do we want the town to be like in 10 years? So now the project is writing the plan that says, how do we get from here to here? Like, this is the vision where we want to be in 10 years. Here's where we're at. How do we get there?
So that says Senate, so that is plan board.
The comprehensive plan is a subset of the planning board. Yeah.
I missed that, sorry, say that again.
The comprehensive plan is
Yeah.
a subset of the planning board.
All right,
Correct.
okay.
It had a few community members on it too, and they
Right,
did some stuff for a while. One passed away and then a couple just dropped off.
And then COVID hit. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
we have a
COVID
good,
hit.
I think there's a pretty consistent vision. I mean, well, it's been a year since we really met as a committee, so. And we have some new committee members, so we'll probably revisit the vision just to make sure that we're okay with that. We'll start revisiting, updating the inventory, which is all the population data, like from the census, which we've got most of that done. We have to inventory all the town's equipment, which has all changed, right, since then. I'm trying to think of all the sections of it.
There's an agriculture piece.
There's an agriculture piece, there's a natural resources piece,
Education, a little bit in there of, you know,
Yep.
Education.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I have to publicly say that I may have made a mistake about my comment of the previous comprehensive plan, as I was looking further down, not exactly the housing section, but toward the end about. I think it had the word draft on there, so I'm not sure, but it did make it seem as though if that was the final one. That it does talk about affordable housing in the old one as a target. So I needed to publicly say that because I noticed it after the fact. I thought, oh, I misspoke, because I was just focused on the chapter itself, but at the end of it, it went into that. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry that I messed, that I.
Oh, that's great. I mean, there was and the people who are working on the updated comp plan didn't like the format of the one from 20 years ago,
Right,
because it was a lot of data and it was. The plan part, the actual action steps we're supposed to take were kind of hidden in there. They were very clear. And they wanted to make it a little simpler, a little bit more directive, so that people could actually use it as a guide for action, not just a document that sits in the corner for 20 years and nobody pays any attention to it. So,
Yeah, everything was 20 years ago had was like businesses you might want to attack the town, in town, that actually had Dunkin' Donuts to plan, and then one showed up.
Diane?
Not actually part of the plan, I got it here, but.
Of the, like the working session one or the previous one?
No, the previous one, it's around,
I,
my book might be in the car, I brought my, I had the book sitting out.
I think
May
the
not-
old one might actually be in the vault.
Well, I have it here, I do have a copy on my computer, if you would like.
Well, I was just thinking for Travis to look at.
Well,
And then
He's gonna
there's,
be like,
Can't read either.
if you wanna give me your email, I can email it to you, or print it out and drop it.
Your
off.
wife can.
But,
the other reason why the comp plan is so important is there's some things that, like, if we wanted to get grant money for certain things, you have to have a plan in place, a comp plan in place in order to be able to get any of those funds. So, and I'm trying to remember, there was one that,
yeah, we liked, I mean, well, the committee was working on it, they looked at a bunch of other towns, and they found a format that they liked, it was a little more, it was clear to read, it was more usable, user-friendly, and not just quite this long, lengthy inventory. So here's this. Get rid of this. This is the one from 2004, and make that a little bigger. So it had to have, select board, oops.
the Canton Comprehensive PJN.
It's easy to
Yeah.
be converted to text, probably
Oh,
text to
I know
PDF,
what-
PDF to text.
Sorry, I don't know why it's converting, sorry, I had to.
yes.
I opened the PDF version, that's the PDF from 2004. Give me a second. I don't know why.
I could forward you what you sent me, if that helps.
Yeah, well, I got,
wonder if I have a
I'll just
copy
fill
of
that out.
It's about 19,000 pages long.
Yeah. If you need, something to read, you put it to sleep.
I fall asleep easy enough.
Oh, yeah.
My chair has the anesthesia button on it, I swear it does.
Let's do why it's not. Let's see. I'm getting a spinny circle, I'm sorry.
Oh, it should be my private.
It's a legalese wish list.
Yeah, I mean, in 2004, we just had the flood. The big flood around that time. So that was a big piece of this. It was, and the people that were working on that at the time were, your dad was on that committee.
Does that tell you, Bernard,
I can't, it won't open, it just keeps.
wasn't it Bernard, Dad? Oh,
Who was the tall skinny guy from,
Alden Cousins.
Alden Cousins was on it?
Oh, I say tall skin.
God, how you knew that. Janet Davis was on it, Colby Davis was on it, Janet
Oh,
Davis, Mac Ray.
she's not real old. Oh,
I'm trying to think who else was there.
Becky McDonald.
Yes, Becky McDonald. So they did, these are all the sections of it, if you go back to the top of that, so this is the old one, right? It has this whole population, historical trends, the age distribution, the median age, a lot of freaking data. And updating it, like I updated it with the 2020 census data when that became available in 22. I updated all this and it's now 2 years old already. Like there's 23 estimates on the census site, because I was there yesterday looking for something. Like what's the education attribute, what's the median household income? We had a housing inventory, like how many seasonal, how many year round, what's the housing age? Because there's stats in the state of Maine, like how old is our housing stock? And at one point in 2004, Canton had a huge amount of really. And like almost no new construction. Now that's flipped a lot. We've had a lot more new construction in the last 5 years. There's a lot about employment, which the nursing home is the biggest employer in town. And then you've got the expanded Big Apple / Dunkin' Donuts, and it's probably the second biggest employer at this point.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah, there's some weird things in here. So a lot of natural resources. The land use, like what's going, what about open space, what about historic and archaeology kind of stuff. What's happening with transportation, like with our roads. What about public facilities? So this was a big inventory, which was probably 90% updated. By the committee, and then. We had all kinds of tragedy. Somebody on the committee died, somebody's, on the committee, there's a child was seriously injured, so they had to stop participating. Then COVID hit, then it just kept going.
But we did have sessions. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't. want to
Yeah,
interrupt.
yeah, there were several public sessions on visioning and dreaming, like where do you want to go? And then there was a couple sessions on, so if this is where we want to go, this is where we're at. Let's talk about actions you could take to get there. So there's a good starting list of a plan already.
Have the public sessions already happened?
Yeah, but I think
Some,
we need to refresh
Yeah.
again because it's been 2 years.
because things
Yeah.
have changed. We've added, now we have the solar ordinance and marijuana ordinance, medical marijuana ordinance. And so that has changed since we started on it. And isn't, anything of that in there.
That's right. And there's been a lot more talk about, does the school come down? Do you build tennis courts? So do we put a
Yeah.
community center somewhere? Like, there's a lot of possible things you could do. You can kind of keep going. a little bit. So we get to that goals, policies and strategies. Like this is where we felt this layout was really cumbersome because you had to read through 12 chapters before you actually got to any action plans, and like who's gonna read all 12 chapters? Nobody. So we found a format from another town that was a much more user-friendly. So we were trying to put the new stuff into that format. So if we're gonna do this on Monday the 19th, show up with
The
18, what, Monday 18th, thank you. I'm in the right month, that's a good start.
Right here, Rock Hill.
So there's a
So-
lot of the old, I shouldn't say old history of Canton in it too, that gave a lot of background that made it kind of cumbersome and, yeah.
What I can't remember is whether the transportation thing talked about the green line that
Mhm.
stops here. Like they make a stop, I
I
don't know
don't
if anyone
remember,
gets
and
on
we
there.
used AvCog was Androscoggin Valley Council of Governments, right, which is a service agency that we subscribe to for this region. They supplied a lot of the transportation section. In fact, they probably wrote 90% of that. Because they have all the data on the miles of roads we have and what the state looks at for bridge. Like durable, or what condition our bridge is in, like they pulled all that together in one chapter. And they're offering to do more. They have a new housing portal, which I was on the other day, that takes all the census data and kind of condenses it down. So they should be able to update the housing stuff pretty quickly.
That's convenient.
Some of it is interesting, some of
Yeah.
it is incredibly dry. Just because of.
You gotta kind of be a data junkie, or
Right.
I think our challenge as a committee is to look at that and say, so what? Right,
Yeah.
it's that. Nobody wants to keep hearing over and over, page after page, 5 is bigger than 4, right? That's boring. It's like, so what? What do you do with that? What's the implications of that?
Where do we want to go? What would we like to see in 10 years? How Canton develops
Yeah.
or progresses?
And
we
I
probably
think,
had 15, maybe 15 different people over the course of the vision, maybe 20 different people over the course of the visioning of where you wanted the town to go. So there was some decent input into that.
I think one of the things that's difficult for me is the fact that will hold sessions for the public to come to them, but nobody shows up. So then you wind, and I'm guilty of it. I haven't been to many of them or any of them, but like, we're trying to create the vision for the town and we don't get any input from the townspeople of
Welcome
how to
to
do
being
it.
on a board.
So it's
The
hard.
visioning actually went pretty well. There was,
The visioning
we had
was
about
good.
20 people,
Yeah.
and because that's a lot of blue sky. When it came to saying, okay, how do we get from where we're at today to this? I
Right.
think that's where people struggle, because you have to think outside the box. You have to say,
Oh my good.
if we're gonna do sidewalks, what's it gonna cost? Yeah, exactly.
If you said this has to get done every year, every
No,
10
no.
years,
Supposed
why does
to,
it say all 4?
Because that's the last time it was done.
Since then.
It's been 20 years?
yeah, it's supposed to be every 10,
So in 14, what happened?
nothing.
Yes.
Nothing literally.
And we're not, and I'm talking to other towns, we're not the only town that
It gets put on.
has
the
struggled.
I think
Get
we
it
started
done.
in 18 on
It's a priority.
it. Yeah, and then.
Well,
COVID
then
hit,
it started
and it
in
was
like 8. I think it was like
18
18 or
17 or
19.
18.
Yeah, probably 18.
Yeah,
And then COVID hit and it just died.
Yeah, sure, right.
Yeah,
cause I
And
know
then Sarah
Jay's
died, and
working
the
on
Kilburn
theirs
trial
right
was
now.
hurt. Then,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then you're like, let's get together, and people are like, screw you. Yeah, literally, I mean, they're like, no, we're not doing it. Okay. So. But I think that's the place where if you want, and some towns call it their comprehensive land use plan.
Yeah.
Right, and so they mesh it in with all kinds of ordinances, like we've read several from different towns that put ordinances in right into their comp plan, it's all one big giant document. Which is, I mean, they make it work, that's how they do it, and I think that's probably how they make it. Actionable, right, is it's tied right directly, literally into the ordinances are piece of the parts of the comp plan.
to where people really do look at it.
Yeah. I think there's probably ways to make it visionary and interesting to people by breaking it down to small enough action pieces that people can go, oh, we could do that. Because part of it is, people don't, if you say, let's build a community center, they don't know how to do it. Right, they don't know how to get $2 million or whatever, you might need to do something like that, right? And so they like, we could never do that, and they just automatically dismiss it. And I think part of the challenge is inspiring people enough to say, if you want change, this is the place to do it, and let's figure out how we're gonna do it. Not, you can't do it, but if you were gonna do it, how might you do that, right? Because there's ways to get all these things done. But that's,
And I know, I'm assuming you guys haven't heard anything more about the school being that deal,
Sean has done some talking,
keeping,
Wants to-
continuing
yeah.
on.
he's met with, he's met with someone, well, or talked with someone from both Brownfield and Babcock.
okay.
And he has the studies that were done a couple of years ago.
You want your,
Well,
your call back?
She sent it.
Oh.
She sent it. That's right. Have you found it? I didn't bother to look.
There in Canton, it says progress.
I didn't bother to look. I did the mail seeking gather, don't see it.
So, okay, so. Do we have specific public comment before we go back to our floodplain management ordinance? Or are you just here to observe, or?
Sure, somebody,
I'm here to acquire wisdom before I make an opinion.
Amen, thank you.
I'm just acquiring knowledge, that's all I'm doing.
Okay, cool,
and he knows enough not to just say yes.
all right,
So, well, John.
I can find you a form that you can
Volunteer.
think about to fill out if you'd like to be on.
I can file it right there.
Attaching it to that.
well, the official comp plan committee, I think, has to be appointed, and you have to go through being sworn and all that crap, but if just to show up at the meetings and
Right,
participate, you
yeah,
do not
yeah.
have to. Go through all that stuff, you just have to show up and participate.
We welcome anybody.
We do, we had fun at those meetings, people were like all over the place.
Are they gonna be here or there?
Well, we paid for those meetings up there because the historical society was, you know, trying to get their thing going, and we had a budget, so we thought we'd actually, and it was a bigger room. If we had, the
Yeah.
first time we had 4 stations going, so we needed all 4 corners of that bigger room. We'll see.
Just thinking, what
And
do
we
you,
have snacks.
oh, yes. I was just thinking, what do you do if the consensus in the room on the town's future is laissez-faire? You know, then that kind of makes it a little bit difficult, isn't it? Chapter by chapter of what, because how do you direct that philosophy? It's actually a
Well, it's all
philosophy.
about the vision, right? And then at the end of the day, you draft all that into this document. And then you have public hearings on that document, and then you have a town vote on it. So there's, you know, somebody has to kind of at least assemble all those diverse opinions into something that hopefully meets everybody's needs.
Yeah.
You probably aren't gonna please everybody, but if certainly there's opinions on things that the town should be doing, if there's strong opinions, they'll get into the plan. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
And they have, I mean, if you look at the old one, there was some people there, like your father was one, he had very strong opinions. Alden Cousins was kind of the strong, quiet, silent type, but man, when he said something,
People listen,
you listened. I really liked that man. It was
Yeah.
good.
Which one? Who?
all the cousins.
Mhm.
Live on.
He was on that and
Slim,
Slim.
Yeah.
stretch, okay.
Yeah.
That's- Slim.
see, I'm not, I just said the tall skinny guy. She knew right away who it was.
That's all I ever heard of.
And Becky McDonald had a lot of history and,
Yeah.
you know, Colby Davis had a ton of history. It was great because in 2004, I'm relatively new. And so I just sucked it all up, listened to everybody, the history. It was a good time. Good committee. But probably colored by the flood. A little bit.
But as Tom or Brad was saying, a lot of grant possibilities are dependent upon having an updated.
A current comprehensive plan. Yeah, in fact, that's a couple of things you've looked at. That's the number, like even the brownfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing with dealing with school. Do you have a current comprehensive plan? Like, well, we have one,
Well,
of course.
We currently have it, it's just not current.
That's right. So. Cool.
All right, so I guess we'll move over to the floodplain management ordinance that we're in the process of updating.
In your deck, you will see one that's handwritten, says state 2023 draft. This is the most recent one I got off the state website.
Yep.
Which all I would do, change it here, perhaps put it in our format, but there's a few pages in here. That we will have to just edit, but if you wanted perhaps to go back to this, start with this one instead of the old one, our old one.
It would probably make sense, yeah.
This is the one that is. If you had coastal lands, you went to one draft. Ordinance, if you had only zone A's, you went to one, we have zone A, E, X. The number of zones on our flood insurance rate maps. So. This was the one for us. So they give you like options here, purpose and establishment. I mean, we just pick one. We're the D firm, I believe, which are zones A and AE. And we just had to put in which of the flood insurance rate maps that we're using. I can find out this week if they're newer ones. These are the latest ones we have.
One copy.
Well,
That one.
no.
What?
Yeah.
I know, you don't like paper.
Yeah, and then come back to paper.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I want all of our current signed ordinances that we have
Mhm.
accessible on a thumb drive or in the cloud somewhere.
Working on it.
We're trying,
We need help with that,
we're
let me
pushing.
know.
Well,
I looked the other day, I was like, oh, I saw a spaceport
Right,
on the website. So if anybody's interested, these are the latest flood insurance rate maps we have. These are dated 2009. So and these are the ones, we just got these about 2 years ago. So we're trying to see if there's anything else. And it isn't like the flood zones actually changed. So, and at one point, these were all compactly folded into a little box because, and then somebody put them in this. But because we have all these zones, we have zones X, A, AE, everything else, I think we fall under this particular element of this.
None of that.
I think we're the deeper.
Claims. Tons of claims.
I will walk the river bed, I was saying,
Check out any updated maps.
take my magnet and go down the river bed.
I was actually looking for flood maps the other day. And there's a website you can actually go to and like type in like a town or a address and it'll pull it up if there's data.
Mhm.
Where I was looking didn't have any data, but. I don't think.
What do
it
you
was
mean you
FEMA.
got? Okay.
Well, this is not FEMA, this is the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP.
I can see.
That's where these come from.
Flood plain mapping, yeah,
And I've also. heard you can walk-
The font that printed off here is lighter. Is that what has, that the state, I mean, this, yeah, the state, had already pre-marked to make it easier for us to customize.
Correct.
Oh, wonderful, I like that.
Yes.
That's nice.
So this totally kind of gives you an idea of what counties they have flood maps for. So that you can literally put like an address in.
We're far left of the state with a long meeting county that goes up as far as I'm. Well, if you send me the link to that, I'll see if we can get updated maps. More recent than those.
Seems odd that you just got them a couple years ago, not that old.
Well, I think we asked for an updated set. And that's what, well, the other ones were, I think, 2000. No, they were 1990 something. Those are 2009.
So it is super slow, but
But might
like
depend on a course, water
That's School Street,
courseway, if
that's-
anything changes.
the potato farm,
They should be the same.
so you can search around and see
Yeah.
like.
I mean,
These don't look, yeah, these don't look a lot different than the
Yeah.
ones we looked at, because our town is, we're pretty flat. And so when they did the flood buyout and they actually had to do elevations of everybody's like front porch, all those houses, they're almost within meters of the same elevation above sea level, right? They were all, I mean, I was surprised how flat we are, like. Then you have to go down to get to the river, so how does the river get there that high up, you know?
well, you gotta look,
The
Whitney
hydrology
Brook,
where-
it's so plugged up, that doesn't help.
Can I ask another question while we have select board people here? They're working on Whitney, on the, Riley Dam.
Yeah,
I just happened to go by there today and I pulled down into the place. It wasn't blocked off, so I pulled down to see what they were doing. And I was like, oh, they're doing a lot of work.
yeah, they are. I don't know what it is.
Well, they had called and Kathy had them call me and they're like, we're such and such a construction company and we're supposed to notify the town of Canton that we're doing work on the dam. I'm like, call the town office and have it notify the town office. I don't know why you're calling me.
Which dam is this?
Riley Dam,
Riley,
J.
yeah.
And I said, as far as I
Top of that
know,
road.
the town, I didn't think that we owned
Yeah,
part of the dam, but apparently we do.
Yeah.
So they were supposed to call the town office and share what they're doing. I did take a picture of their sign, the engineering sign, so I thought,
so what are they doing?
I don't know.
I wonder if they're putting new spillways on or something, cause I don't know whether that's why the river. I'm sure it has something to do with why the river's so low, cause it
Yeah.
doesn't appear to be as low below it.
No, but I think this is about a once in a lifetime low.
It's crazy. Crazy low.
Whitney Brook is too.
Is it?
Yeah, cause I'm sampling for Induscrogan River Watershed Council. And I couldn't do any samples because it's so low. The probe is like sitting on the bottom.
Yeah. Huh.
But I know that they've opened the dam on the lake and lowered the lake level.
Yeah, well, I knew, cause Dave was concerned with the water being as low as it was about
It would be
his
discharged.
release, yeah. That he wanted to make sure he was doing it right before they opened or right after they opened.
So in this 2023 state draft of the new floodplain management ordinance. They give you a bunch of purpose statements to choose from. We are and they're color coded, as you can see it there. So we are the D firm, I believe, because we have zones A and AE. But we don't have this A130, I believe, so I think, which I think are coastal things, so we fit that description, so we can use that one if we want to. And adopt it, or adapt it as needed.
Okay.
That's even like all that gravel just to see that it's all.
There is a,
It is.
so this designates somebody as a floodplain administrator, that could be the code enforcement officer. We should probably check about code enforcement officer before we
Can we make it,
nominate.
we can't make it like the select board, can we? Or should it be the CEO?
Maybe, you know, the way it's worded, there's like a person, you know, like a
Right.
contact person.
I think it's the CEO.
Okay.
Typically.
It's like a mad lib.
That's
You need a verb here.
We can put in his name. Travis Adams shall be designated as the local flood administrator.
Just got him some.
Because he was president and didn't.
Yes. Years ago.
Uh, So before any construction happens in a flood hazard, blah, 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 a flood hazard development permit shall be obtained from the blank. And again, we can designate, right, in some of these ordinances, it's designated that the code enforcement officer is like, issues all the permits, right? In the old days, the planning board actually reviewed building permits, all that stuff.
Yeah.
At some point in the history, I don't know when, that changed, so that all that responsibility was taken off the planning board and it went to the code enforcement officer. Before we say that the code enforcement officer issues all the permits for the floodplain, we should just make sure that's okay with him, but I mean, that's really part of his job responsibility.
I know, I was in the office this week, I think, or last week. And somebody come in with a question, they own property on the Bixby Road about floodplain stuff. And they were referred straight to the CEO, because
Well, if you remember, somebody. I'm sorry, I'm eating dinner here. Somebody last year. Bought a ton of land. On the Bixby Road, cleared it. And then wanted to build. I'm like, you're in a floodplain, I'm pretty sure you can't build there,
unless they
Parcel that's for sale
It
right
was up
now.
by the,
probably.
sewer plant
yeah, it was that one. She wanted to build right outside the sewer plant fence.
downwind of the sewer lagoons.
Really?
Option.
But, I mean, whoever, Paul, what's his name, that used to own the island?
Bernie.
Yeah. Paul Bernier, I think, bought a chunk of land back there, cleared it. I don't think he wanted to build, but somebody else bought a chunk of land, and they asked, and I said, I'm pretty sure you have to apply for a building permit, and it's in the flood zone, so. Personally would. About that. Anyway, this tells you what you have to put on a flood hazard permit. And, oops. Anything that's in red are things that we have to adjust, right? Put in our town or make sure that we have. The rate maps included in here, blah, blah, blah. And we have an old one, and I think our job as the planning board, we found ordinances that haven't been updated in over 30 years. Some were even longer, so I think we kind of said as a board, we're pretty much committed to making sure we get everything up to current standards. And I think we're all quitting. Anyway, sorry. So tell us about the certifications that are required. This is all your permit application. Now, consistent with our other ordinances, we can say here. You know, non-refundable application fee as determined by the. Canton fee schedule, right? So we don't have to put a dollar number in here, then, but we can refer to that. So we'll get Scott to come to a meeting and talk to him about the, because in the past, sometimes he'll take the permit, he'll do some of the initial work. He sometimes wants us to go through and make sure that everything's copacetic. So I believe again, we're deeper, and I'll have to go back and read these definitions. I don't think these are all that changed from our current one. This is our current one. Which our current one was 2008, which would be nice to get that updated. Yeah, we're zones A and AE, we're, so you can build in the flood zone if you fill out certain permits and. I think. I'm not sure, we have to look at this, I'm not sure where DEP gets involved. And where the National Flood Insurance Program is involved. I mean, they don't want you to build in the flood zone.
Right.
You know, being that kind of goes along with the signage of the own risk.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Well, I can look at all those houses in California on the sides of the hills and these canyons, you know, and then they're multi-million-dollar beautiful homes, but. Then you get a wildfire or you get mudslide.
Yeah.
You know, they don't rain for 20 years and suddenly.
Yeah.
But they keep rebuilding in the same spot. I find that
It's like when someone suggested, you know, housing development in Canton Point on the flats or building there, and it's, we're all like, nah.
Not gonna use it.
It could be like those North Carolina houses on the stilts, you know?
Yeah.
They still get washed away.
So is there anything else on page 7 of this, under all developments? Article 6, development standards, I don't think this is really any different than what we currently have. The review.
That's a new picture.
So we have all development shall, looking at development, so the 6 development standards, right? So these are the same 1, 2, 3, 4 that we currently have. A water supply, sanitary sewage, nothing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It'll get my sugar level up.
I'm working on blueberry cake.
I thought it was all-
That's what it is.
I had the results of my blood test a couple years ago, and I was low on the sugar, not too low, but I don't have diabetes, but I'm taking action for my health.
That's a man's logic for you right there.
Chocolate is one of the food groups.
Yeah.
Chocolate's covered nuts should be on the food pyramid.
So pizza.
All right. So guys, if we're looking through pages 6, 7, these are not any different than our current ordinances. Now, if we go back to F here on page 6, under utilities, reconstruction, substantial improvements. It says connecting services elevated to at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation. Do we want to, did we change that?
Page 6. Okay.
These are development standards and our old one, this is on 6.
Well, my thing is, I wonder what most municipalities do. Let's see.
You know, we don't have this section. We go through water supply. We have the same sanitary sewage system is the same, on-site water disposal is the same, water carrying capacity. Utilities is a new element. It's not in our current ordinance. New construction is substantial improvement of structure, blah, 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 blah.
What zones are we
That
constituted
seems
in?
dangerous.
We are A and AE. I don't think we're A130.
Well, I know the flood you had in December, like before they could turn the electricity on Pleasant Street, they had to go in and see where the church's electrical box was, if it had been underwater or not, before they could flip the switch on that end of town.
Yeah.
So they did.
So should we talk to the code enforcement officer and ask him about, is 1 foot above base level elevation? And that, if we want to make it higher.
I would go higher, but
I agree. It's very low.
because the level from flood to flood changes. You know,
Well. Wouldn't that be your 1 foot above the base flood elevation? So if your flood,
Hmm.
wherever you want to build, you get 4 feet of water. That needs to be 5 feet. Is the way that I'm reading it. So that would go off of the high flood level, high flood history.
So you're going with the 100-year flood events?
that's it. I was gonna say, there's marks in the Baptist church where it got up and I think it was the 85 flood. You know, and then in December, it only got up to the top of the step. It didn't get up in the building, just,
Right.
you know, so.
You want to know the definition of base flood elevation?
I'm turning there right now. Okay, base flood, a flood having a 1% chance of being equaled or exceeded in any given year, commonly called the 100-year flood.
So,
Yeah. So we can look, the state has that data, I have it somewhere.
I don't think we need to make it more than the 1 foot, for as long as we're following the state minimums. I would be okay with that.
You know what, looking at it again, it was reassuring, because I guess I was thinking like zero elevation as
yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to this, so that makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so we're okay with that. G is also something new that is not in our current one. It is physical changes to the natural landscape,
Hmm.
right? So certain, read this out. Certain development projects included but not limited to retaining walls, seawalls, levees, berms, riprap can cause physical changes that affect flooding conditions. So all development projects in zone AE, which is our zones, right, that cause physical changes to the natural landscape shall be reviewed by a professional engineer to determine whether or not the project changes the flood base level elevation zone or the flood hazard boundary lines.
That seems prudent to add.
It does. I know there's somebody who has not come to us, but has privately mentioned that his neighbor did something to prevent like runoff on his land, and in turn it created a huge runoff on the other guy's land.
Mhm.
But it got approved by the DEP. So now it's a problem, right? But maybe having a professional engineer in there might have maybe helped.
Mhm.
All right, so we keep all those sections. So then, but they have section H as residential, and this version is what we had as F, so we're good. So we're zone AE, we are not A130. Our current ordinance does say the same thing. Zone A shall have the lowest floor, including the basement, elevated to at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation. I'm gonna double check, but I think they've got the updated, this is 2023, all those references. The articles are all good. Non-residential is the same.
Um,
It hasn't changed. So if we keep the nomenclature in this draft ordinance the same as what the state has, right? Article, instead of changing them to sections 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, keeping them article 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then all these sub-references in the middle of the document are correct. So just letting you know.
Oh, if we keep it the same, it'll still work out. You say,
Yeah.
oh, good. Okay. That's good, because you wonder, will this work? Okay.
So these have not changed. So there's a couple different things here in zone A, under item 2. Zone A shall have this lowest floor, including basement elevated to at least 1 foot above the base flood level. In the absence of all data described in this article, they need to have to elevate to at least 2 feet above the highest adjacent grade to the structure. That's a new piece. These are new elements here, B and C.
Oh, fucking things.
So these two that are highlighted are a change from our current ordinance.
Oh,
Sorry. Oh, are we okay with putting in these 2 new pieces? So it's basically saying if you have all this base flood elevation data, you do 2A. Or if you don't have all that data, you have to go 2 feet above the highest adjacent grade to the structure. And all your utilities and sanitary facilities have to meet floodproofing standard. So it's basically get your floodplain elevation data, or just
Jack it up higher.
make your campsite at the top of the hill, basically, right? Don't put your campsite in a gully when it rains.
Build at the top of Dugway Hill or something.
Yeah. So when we turn this into the select board for review, what we'll do is take out all the A130 references, because those are coastal references that we don't have. We have done AE. So these are under manufactured homes. These are all the same so far. Didn't change. From our short one.
So everything I'm finding, about. Zone, like this is just zone A1. Is a former flood zone designation that is now part of zone AE or newer. Flood insurance rate maps.
Okay.
I'm trying to see,
A130, whatever that means.
I'm trying to find what A1 is,
It's a. Look here.
and then there's a thing on FEMA. It just,
FEMA has a zone definition, as you said.
A1 through 30, these are known as numbered zones. This is the base floodplain where the firm shows a BFE. And then it says old format,
Okay.
and its firm is,
Flood insurance rate map.
yes.
That's what these are, yeah. I can certainly call the state floodplain office and see if I can get those designated in English and see if I can get an updated version of the map. I don't think we have A130s. I think we have zone AEs, but unless they change that designation on the new maps.
AE is a high-risk flood zone,
Right. And those
which
are
we would be
they're
probably,
designated on these maps already.
yeah.
There's flood zones, there's floodways, there's
Mhm.
things. Hmm. So I think manufactured homes are the same all the way through. We talked about this last time briefly with the tie down systems that are required for flood zones, the anchoring systems that have to be there. Those have not changed. That's all there. Recreational vehicles. We were just gonna double check the 180 consecutive days with the code enforcement officer, just to make sure that that's consistent in any of our other ordinances.
So that's the reason why people cannot live in, or yeah, I should say, should not. Per the rules, live in a camper,
Yeah,
because, I mean, as their residents, because of this time prohibition,
In a flood zone,
right?
yeah, you should not put a camper on a flood zone.
No.
And I'm thinking, mobile homes are even at risk.
questionable.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially-
Western North Carolina, oh my God, the
Mhm.
pictures of before and after.
Mm.
Just,
And the joke is always, Riley Dam will catch it, but
you're still alive by the time you get to Riley Dam, maybe. So some of these under accessory structures have changed. So so these are the same thing. So it's just slightly different verbiage, right? New construction, substantial improvement of accessory structures as defined in this article shall be exempt from the elevation criteria if all the following requirements are met. So if your accessory structure, and now we're talking about, garden shed, she shed, your running shed for your horses, all that kind of stuff, right? Limited in size to a 1-story, 2-car garage, have unfinished interiors, not be used for human habitation. Have only ground fault electrical outlets. These are slightly different than the ones in our current ordinance. Talks about 500 square feet or less and have a value less than $3,000. $3,000 in today's world does not even build you a much of a garden shed.
I'm just thinking about that structure that came before us about the horses, wasn't it? Because I know that the requirement in Article 6 talks about. Article 6A1 says be designed or modified and adequately anchored to prevent flotation. And I was just wondering if, I'm trying to recall what their mechanism was to make sure that structure wasn't going to float away or something.
I think we said they had to be open at the bottom and have some flow through, but I glanced at that today when I drove by. I don't know that that's
I've
happening.
seen them
I have to go
building
take-
it, I don't know why, yeah.
We'll have to go take another look. And see what was put in their building permit, because there was some very specific
Yeah, I don't
requirements.
remember what, is there flooring?
Well, this says accessory structures have to be located outside the floodway. Well, that's in here. That was in here too. For minimum resistance to the flow of floodwaters. Which means you gotta have that open thing at the bottom. Have hydraulic openings. In at least 2 different walls of the accessory structure. We could ask the code enforcement officer just to double check that that's what's happening in that building.
Yeah. Okay. I would have to slow down, drive a little slower going by.
I drive by and look at the pretty horses. I don't look at the building, but I should look at the building.
I just check to make sure the horses are in.
Well, I used to live in a town that had a huge flood and these horses were on a mound about the size from me to you, like this little tiny piece of ground. They're standing up on that and everything else is completely flooded.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, they could swim out, but,
Right.
you know,
We had pigs swimming in the river. You know, they swam from Meadowview to Canton Point during this summer or whatever, so.
and that damn goat, is he still running loose around town?
He's over here somewhere.
He was over in
Does
Hartford.
anyone know whose goat it is?
No, but a friend with a security camera on the Hartford side of the lake,
Yeah.
about every 2 days, it sets off his security camera, takes a picture and he posts it. Because
What was
damn
out
goat
here?
is still running around.
It was out here in the handicap parking spot last week.
I saw that.
That's-
But the
that's
pigs
good.
on Canton Point have been captured and
Made into bacon.
they have moved out of the neighborhood.
All right, so these K floodways, which is now M in this updated document, are the same. I don't believe that's changed. So nerds. Two, and two there's the same. So they did, thank God, take out these specific, remember the old one, we were trying to look up and determine if these references are correct, right? The old version says it's consistent with criteria chapter 5, hydraulic analysis, well, you know, it lists a very specific document.
Hmm,
Now it says consistent with technical criteria contained in FEMA's guidelines and standards. So
that's nice.
it's a much easier reference. We don't have to keep updating the reference. That's good. So they did change the name. We called it enclosed areas below the lowest floor. They're calling it hydraulic openings / flood vents. So that's just a new name for the same section. Right. On that ordinance you're looking at, that's page 9 under L. They changed the name. Same criteria, same difference. They've taken out stilts. Hold on, post column piers, piles, or crawl spaces, they've taken out the word stilts.
I'm gonna take my reading material.
I'll tell you, ordinance review is about as exciting as we get at these meetings.
Take that.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming.
Well, that's what we'll do, something really fun.
And we'll keep trying to talk you into something.
You can keep talking.
Yeah.
So these sections then are really the same. Closed areas should not be used for human habitation, closed areas are used for sole building access, usable. Storage. All right. Bridges. New construction or substantial improvement of any bridges, we look at this, these are all the same, same. Containment walls. That's the same. We get down to Article 7, certificate of compliance. Well, this is where we had those question marks. No land in a special flood hazard shall be occupied or used, no structure which is constructed or substantially improved shall be occupied is issued by the CEO. Oh, this is where they have blanks.
Yeah,
All
question mark.
right, let me call Scott and I'll run this by him. I could put CEO in some of these spots and just highlight them in red and have him take a look at them and make sure he's okay with all those spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me.
You know,
And maybe he already does this for another municipality. Doesn't he work for more than one
Hartford, he
municipal?
works for Hartford.
Mhm.
He's actually Hartford's full-time CEO and he's our part-time.
Oh,
I think part-time essentially for both.
Mm.
We couldn't get anybody. Okay. Yeah, these are very brush marks. God, how do you pass an ordinance full of question marks?
Yeah.
They probably didn't read it through to that part.
Yeah,
I can see that.
so Article 8, review of subdivision and development proposals are all the same. I don't see anything changing there. Appeals and variances. Variance should be, oh, so let's double check the variances shall be granted. Sufficient cause. Flash. Hardship, that's always a tough one. Necessary. D is the same, okay, so none of these have changed, E hasn't changed, F hasn't changed.
and there's the word and, so it seems like the applicant has to show all of these, 1, 2, 3. And 4, right? It's not an or.
Yeah, undue hardship is tough,
Yeah.
we had, the last appeal we had like 4 or 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, that was undue hardship was one of the criteria that you had to look at, and it was very tough to.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, so none of these don't change. Yeah, I'm not changing any of these articles. I would, I'm gonna put our logo on this and make the typeface consistent with all the other ordinances that we have.
Let's put the new lawyer right to work.
That's right. We'll put the CEO in the blank spots, highlight those and send them to Scott for review. Brad, is man-made one word? Or a hyphenated word?
Let's check Merriam-Webster's.
I know, you would know.
Let's do that. Oh, well, I see a hyphen in Merriam-Webster's. And I don't see an alternate spelling, so where was this on this
And
ordinance?
I see it showing up as an error on the page. I just fixed it.
No.
Alright, the definitions, I don't look like they've changed. So I have 2 things to do, get the definition of this A130. And does that apply to us or not? And then,
Oh, you know what? This zone A130 that Tom found the definition FEMA. But it says, when it says these are known as numbered A zones, example, A7 or A14, it's a range. the way I take it,
Yeah.
what that's saying. And says this is the base floodplain where the firm shows a BFE whole format, and Tom read the same thing, but,
Oh, 1 to 30, right?
yeah. And BFE meaning base flood elevation,
Updated maps
so,
or digital map references. CEO,
seems like it's not just one zone, but it's a range of different, different things.
on our maps, we have AAE, AH, AO, AR, A99. And coastal stuff, we're not coastal stuff. They don't match. They don't-
Do you need any other definitions looked up or? That's.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, just being clear, those apply to us. See if there's updated maps or updated digital links to the maps.
Mhm.
Get the CEO names in here, get the typeface formatting. Consistent. I will send to the CEO. And then based on his feedback and our review of that, we will then send it to the board, so that our lawyers can go right to work on pretty purposes. And if we get the town plan done in time for next year's town meeting, that would be
That'd be cool.
4 big accomplishments. Right. Any other changes here that we think of? Tell me again, what is abrogation?
What is what?
Abrogation, AB.
Oh, abrogation,
Aggravation.
No.
let me just.
Um,
It's, the act of repealing or canceling a law, rule, right, or formal agreement. So,
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm asked to be between now and the next meeting. Woo-hoo.
Any other topics?
I motion we adjourn.
Second?
oh, well, before we do, can I
Oh.
just ask something? I
Yes.
just wanted to ask, is there, in the past, as I've asked before, when I've helped to type things up, is there something that we can do to help in this process? Because I just feel like it, before, like when there was an ordinance or something, I was happy to type stuff up and stuff.
Because we found the 2023 state ordinance,
It's kind of,
all we're doing is gonna change the typeface and the type style and put our little logo thing at the top, just to be consistent, and put our signature page is usually at the back.
okay,
Right, so I'm just gonna modify those pieces of the format to be consistent with our other ordinances, but I'm not changing any other content than what we.
wonderful, yeah, and then as
I've
far as.
got it in Word already, I'm not retyping it.
Perfect.
That's what I like about these things, and then, so when this goes to a town vote, we're obligated to give them a redlined version? I mean, you're just gonna feed it through Word and say
That's a
track
good-
changes?
That's a good question, I think, we'll look at those, I think there's only a couple changes, and maybe we'll just highlight that, because we're changing the typeface.
That's gonna be a big thing if
It's
you.
everything is. And if we say, hey, we've taken the state's recommended 2023 version of this ordinance.
Mhm.
And maybe just put a cover letter that doesn't stick with it, but that says changes from the town's 2008 version of this ordinance are as follows, these 3 things, because there's not many changes.
No.
Right.
I think we could put that as a cover
That
letter,
makes sense, yeah.
otherwise, they'll be looking at it line by line. We fixed the question marks, you guys passed an ordinance with question marks in it. I find that pretty bad, but. Who knows? Because I'm guessing, I'm looking at this was probably printed by the state planning office, because it's exactly the same format. I think they just took it as is and voted it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I think technically a motion to adjourn is non-debatable, and I interjected myself, sorry.
You're good.
We won't kick you out.
Okay.
so can you stop the Facebook thing there?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No doubt.
We all those in favor?
Thanks. I can literally just close it, correct?
There's a thing at the bottom that stops us.
The pause button.
We've got the Zoom app down there at the bottom of the. Yeah, then end on the right, probably